Welcome to the Wandering Tangent podcast. If you just came here from the review, I'm sorry to say that our special guest stars apparently got into an elevator and noped out, so you're stuck with the regulars. I'm BJ. With me is Jeff and Gary. We are decidedly less adorable than the special guest stars. But like the special guest stars, we're going to be talking about MechWest episode 1 and 2 as appears on the YouTube.
So, yeah, from what I understand, these guys are kind of, yay. From what I understand, it's kind of like a little independent
That's what I was about to say.
Studio.
I wasn't quite clear on who is making it and what their situation is, but apparently they seem very indie, very independent.
Actually, I saw the first time I saw this, it was actually at a convention, a local convention, and so I'm guessing this studio is actually local to us here, where we live, and so I'm thinking, at least that's the impression that I got.
I tried to do a little bit of research on it, and their website isn't very in depth.
The animation's good though. The
good.
terrain is very detailed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is, and their characters, the animated, they make them a nice cartoonish like look to them. And then they have a lot of imaginative mechs, and I feel like this is a really good theme that commonly happens in kids shows. You have a world where people are accumulating all of these friends, you might call them, or minions or pals. It's almost like how Pokemon or how other shows like that, where you collect all of these companions who have a special ability about them. And they're quirky, they're funny, they have unique things, and you can put lots of personality into them. So all the mechs seem to have personality. They fall over in the mud, they get grumpy, they get downtrodden and treated badly by all the humans who take them for granted. And you could see a very human-like quality in them, that they're almost just like they all have playful personalities, different kinds.
So
my wife,
okay, go ahead, Gary.
My wife would often refer to that particular grouping as being the Scooby Gang. So, kind of makes that's what I always think of it as. But no, you were gonna say, BJ?
Oh, I was going to mention that as the conversation rolls on, that me and Gary can talk about what happened during the review, but Jeff not so much, because Jeff could not hear a thing that was said.
Yeah, it added to a lot of chaos. I was just in the background thinking, I hope everything's going all right.
He's just in the background. He just watched me type in snarky comments into the Discord. Every time Gary's kid said, "You guys," I posted a gif of Sloth from Goonies going, "Hey, you guys."
Okay. See, I just got those in the chat and I had no idea what the reference was. But hey, that kind of thing fits any situation. So
that's
because Gary's kid is the natural host, apparently.
He's quite a radio personality, right?
He is the energy behind this particular concept. I apologize, BJ, that this is something that he pushes for, and he will hound me until he kills me, unless I allow him at least this every year. So I apologize, BJ, but this is
it has to be partly my fault, because at some point I must have agreed, "Oh, sure, you can be on the podcast." Actually, now that I think about it, I think he asked about it in since these have been our April Fool's episodes. Let's say that it was many, many months before April, and I think I kind of agreed, thinking that young child would forget before said thing came up, but
Oh no,
did not.
He did not forget.
he did not.
He did not.
There was no forgetting.
He is eminently of the opinion that he will become internet famous, and this is going to be the vehicle that does it for him. Somehow he's going to turn our podcast into a multimedia empire.
Do you want to tell Gary? Do you want to tell Jeff about your kid's idea?
Oh, Jeff, by the way, has proposed to offer merch for the channel, for the podcast.
Oh yeah, and he's gonna take on the marketing of that, right?
He is going to the manufacturer, because he's got he can make buttons with the podcast's name on it, and so he will make the buttons, and we will. I don't think he quite understands the concept of the everything that goes on to create a marketable item. It's not just making the item. You also have to have a place to sell it at, and a million more steps that we're not even aware of at this point, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so distribution's still something to work out, right? Okay.
I mean,
Marketplace, distribution.
No.
Advertising.
No offense to your child's master plan, but I can only think of one person that would buy one of his buttons, and I think they live relatively close to you.
Yes, they do. But hey,
said person, being Gary's in-laws, has probably already stopped listening because cute grandchild is no longer on air.
Actually, I will say, for the 5 people that listen to us, if that's something that you should so desire, please let us know down in the comments.
Yes. We'll have to make Jeff whip up some kind of logo that will fit on a button. Or maybe like Gary's kid, make the logo. I don't know. Maybe.
But if on the off chance that our 5 audience members don't say, all come demanding buttons, we'll probably just let this particular idea go away.
This has been we found out, like, all the BattleTech people are still listening. They're like, yeah, we want buttons.
Because they heard mech and they thought,
what?
okay.
Mechs what?
Mechs what?
Did somebody say something about robots?
And then they would have gone and watched that show and be like, oh, they probably would have thought more of it than Wesley did. But then again, Wesley just didn't.
Okay, he had never seen it, right? He never seen this show. You found it, thought it was well done, and tried to introduce it.
And then he hated it.
And then they didn't like it.
I was gonna say, maybe my memory is faulty in this. I thought you picked this because you had already watched this with your son, but apparently not.
I watched the first episode like a few months ago, and then the second episode came out, and we decided to rewatch it, today. And then he didn't like. He was kind of ambivalent on it the first time, and then this second time he just
did not like
it.
And
it might just be that he's being contrarian about it. I kind of get that sense about it, but
what? Someone being contrarian on this podcast? Why, I never. And then we did find a weakness in our rating system, in that one of Jeff's kids is too young to really be able to wrap their brains around the concept of negative numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, so he gave it a 3, which was apparently.
By the way,
maybe it's just genetic, Jeff.
Speaking of
giving high scores to somewhat questionable product.
Hey, it's what we do.
Speaking of scores, maybe we should give our own official scores as opposed to the children's ones.
I didn't think about what the score. I was like, yes, I don't have to think of a score. Awesome. Why
Um,
don't you go first, Gary, since you're the one dropping this on us?
well, I kind of liked it a lot more than did. I didn't think like excessively high of it. There's obviously some rough edges that they kind of need to sand off, but apart from that, it was okay. So I give it a 2, a solidly kind of like score.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd probably give it a 2 as well. I mean, I think that it's great for kids, and grown-ups can watch it as well. I mean, I watch kids shows, I do, but I really appreciate a lot of the things that go into them. And then I watch other things that are very not for kids, with explosions and terror and awful things. But it's just, I think that combination of, you have these little friends, these little mechs who have personalities, and you have all of that, and there's so many different ones, and they just fit into the world. I think that's a good setup for many different stories. And we only watched 2 episodes, but
Well,
it's a good platform to build upon
there
as
are,
far as
in
stories.
fact, only 2 episodes.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay. So there's only two
I think.
episodes. This is kind of a starter thing then. Must
Yeah.
be.
I am now going to the channel really quick just to double check to make sure I'm not crazy. Yes, so far only 2 episodes have been released. There is a sneak peek for episode 3, which I have not watched. So there you go. Suppose you want me to score it, don't you? Uh, Speaking as the person who has no children and as such has not really entered the mindset of watching things with, is this good for my kid in mind? I'm gonna judge it a bit more harshly, I guess, and give it like a -1. Not as harshly as, say, Gary's kid, but you know, as as a grown man coming at this just my own with just my own opinion in mind, it was like okay-ish, I guess. There was about 3 minutes in, I did bump up the speed to 1.25 times just to get over with sooner, and it didn't seem to affect very much. So, uh, yeah, it's like very basic plot. Like, I don't really, I guess I guess like some of the base conceits in the world, I really didn't get. It's like there's all these all these little robot dudes running around, but for some reason everyone is really mean to the little robot dudes who do like the basic infrastructure work for no reason other than to be mean to them so that it is more endearing that the main characters aren't, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's part of the setup, is that the mechs are just not really, they don't really get any praise or acknowledgement. They're just mechs. Nobody really pays much mind to them.
I was laughing
Yep.
during the Okay, so Jeff, I guess you did not hear the part where we started to wonder, how can he be powered, or Gary's kid, how can he be powered by a crystal? Crystals don't do that. I'm like, I know I've heard of this somewhere. I think it's like, I don't know.
I know it was a fairly common theme in Final Fantasy. I think we grabbed it for our own Dungeons and Dragons adventures on multiple occasions. I can't really
Yeah.
think of
Oh, yeah, the
anywhere
Crystals
else
are
where
just
So generally
Star Trek.
I would say that's more of a fantasy setting thing usually. Well, like I guess except Star Trek, but like in Star Trek are they like a source of, oh, here we go talking about Star Trek again. In Star Trek,
Oh.
are they like a source of fuel? Are they like some sort of channeling method to be able to warp space or whatever? Jeff, I
They're a
assume
source
you've
of
looked into
fuel.
this at some point.
Yes, there is it's kind of like, you can think of it as like nuclear energy, but way better and not fully explained. But using the crystals, they're able to get matter to energy conversion. They're able to get massive amounts of energy from them. And it's
So
a
the
real
crystals
easy
are
thing to do.
so the crystals are magic, even in Star Trek.
Yeah, even in magic. They're magic.
They're magic.
When I saw that there was a crystal inside,
There's a gnome in a wheel.
he's running. Yeah, so crystals are about the most generic storytelling element that you can come up with, because everybody has crystals.
We need a MacGuffin.
It's powered
It's
by
a crystal.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be something like fusion or something science-y in it, but no, it's a crystal. And there's science around the crystal, which I guess I can't be too negative on because I just mentioned Star Trek. They're like, they do the same thing.
Just like I was going to make fun of this, but then they do the same thing in Star Trek, so I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
mean,
have to also wonder about the like what it is that's control, like what sort of control system they have on these little mech units, because it does seem that they seem to be fairly advanced in their cognitive abilities. Even the one that's designed to carry toilet paper has some very advanced concepts that it's capable of understanding. So I'm like, it's not just the power source.
How
it's
does
like,
it?
what's the processor on this thing? What's making it tick?
Yeah, because in order for them to be like that, they would have to have memory. They have to be able to record what's happening to them and somehow keep track of that information and then retrieve that information later on as they're processing more things that are happening to them. So if you had a mechanical computer, how would you do that? Like, how do you record all that? So there has to be something. There's a lot of questions. Like, what is the control mechanism of these? And it's an incredibly sophisticated control mechanism that can actually learn with an artificial intelligence of some kind. Yet it's kind of steampunk a little bit, not completely, but you can see parts of the mechs where they have gears and everything in there for the heads and joints and stuff. So it could be a mechanical computer, but then there's some sort of information net that is growing over time with new information, and that's their personality.
Well, it's a quasi-thinking biped robot that runs off of coal, even though there's like no obvious like smoke coming from these robots as they burn said coal.
Yeah, so there's a boiler
apparently
inside somewhere?
some sort of very what's the word looking for? Very efficient burn cooling process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One piece of coal is all you need. Or at least a tiny robot. And then the big, huge oxen or the big cattle, they need a shovel.
They could make self-driving biped robots, but apparently not cars or a truck, which would make the whole carry one thing to another place a lot simpler than it's a cattle drive, except the cattle are carrying expensive products.
Yeah.
It's a cargo drive.
It's a cargo drive.
With cattle.
Yeah.
It's a cargo truck, but with more steps.
And then the poor cattle get massacred halfway through. Anyways.
Yeah. That's another weird thing. Like, they brutally destroy these mechanical creatures.
Yeah,
it's like we could have just stopped and opened them, but that wasn't evil enough. We have to be evil about this because we're the bad guys.
I mean, so I guess in cinematography, there's that there's the save the cat versus like other, there's the save the cat scene, right?
Save the cat versus kick the dog.
Yeah, kick the dog. In this particular case, there's the kick the dog scene. They had to show that these people were the bad guys, in the most evil way. And it's just like, but it just kind of is confusing. But anyways, no, I thought it was okay. It wasn't great. It just was okay, especially for like a little kid's show.
I mean,
So,
and again, being the person with no kids, I am not used to shows aimed at younger audiences. So I come in kind of cold to these kind of things. I'm like, what is this? As compared to you guys, which I'm sure have seen all kinds and all qualities of stuff aimed at young children.
Yeah,
uh,
that's really, really true.
stuff
DJ.
of varying
Just to me.
quality. I mean, there's some kids shows are like way worse, and then some kids shows are Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it just is something that's kind of
Yeah,
addicting.
good writing is just good writing. Yep.
Good writing is
Doesn't
just
matter
good
what age
writing.
group it is. It's just good writing, and I'm usually drawn to those. If I feel like there's good writing in it, like wow, this is really well done.
That's the man who gave the green slime 3 stars.
Yeah,
An ironic 3
it's
stars.
very odd, BJ. I don't quite get this.
I don't either. I like good writing, but I also like the green slime.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad they had
I'm
their
sorry.
space battle.
I'm
Okay.
Jeff. Do we need to bring up? I already almost said the Last Jedi again. Do we need to bring up Rise of Skywalker again, Jeff? I already did that joke once. I don't want to do it again, but here I am. Maybe we need to.
So
I'm disappointed in myself. I was going to be nice to Jeff.
You lasted a lot longer than you usually do.
That's because we haven't recorded in like a month. I haven't been mean to you because we haven't talked.
Yeah, you were starting to heal, starting to recuperate. Therapy sessions were going well, and then suddenly, 30 minutes in.
The trigger mechanism is back.
Anyway, I really like a lot of kids shows. I love Octonauts. That's a great show.
I have
Well done.
never even heard of
My
that.
Little Ponies for girls. I do have girl children, so I'm allowed to watch it. It's really well written. All about friendship. Friendship is magic. What a positive thing. And Bluey's another good kid show. It has a lot of good morals in it, and it's playful and fun.
My siblings who have children are fans of Bluey.
Yeah, Bluey's well written. Yeah, it's just all about families. It has some very serious themes to it, but it portrays them in a very simple way that the children watching it get one level of the show, but then grown-ups watching it can see more because they can see past the subtleties, and so it's almost like on different levels. Hard to explain, but that was a good explanation. Well, it was accurate, just hard to explain.
It was a good explanation, if I do say so
No, it
myself.
was not a good explanation. It was as good as I could make it. Yeah.
Well, I hate to cut things a little short,
No, you don't.
Yes, I can sense how much you
love
hate
to
it.
cut things short.
but a dinner is calling, so I think I'm gonna start to
Need to go
try
the
to
mechs,
wind things
get some coal.
down.
Gary must also get in the elevator and drift away.
Oh yes. I'm going to get into the elevator and ding my way out.
And again, Jeff has no idea what we're talking
I
about.
have no idea, but I am interested to hear about this elevator.
At the end of the review, Gary's kid just suddenly said, I'm done talking now. I'm gonna get in my elevator, ding, or something to that regard.
And then he ran off to his room and kind of left BJ to pick up the pieces. So
What an exit.
Which was basically the plan to begin with, I'm sure.
yeah. So
BJ,
I'm
collector of pieces.
I'm gonna pull. I'm not gonna pull a similar one, but I am going to. In closing.
Gary,
In closing.
in closing, which means we're about halfway done.
But in closing.
Even in the review, as soon as Gary's kid said final thoughts, that's when Jeff's kid started to talk, finally.
No, it's just family instinct, I guess. Wait, we're
It's
about ready to
genetic.
wrap up. Quick.
It is. But my final thoughts were I thought it was an okay show. I think people should give it a chance. I would like to see more of this, see where they're going with it. But maybe I'll go watch that teaser that BJ was talking about. But anyways,
Gary's final thoughts are, seriously, guys, I'm stopping.
yes,
All right.
seriously.
Let's all get into our elevators.
Okay.
Ding.
Getting a turbo lift because mine goes sideways. Woo. I'm BJ. With me was Jeff and Gary, who have already dinged away, I guess. Which means theoretically I could just keep talking for as long as I wanted. I'm not going to, because I've already talked as much as I wanted. We'll see you next time, folks, for a little bit more of a regular episode. Happy April Fool's Day. It is, in fact, April 1st when this comes out. See you next time, I guess. Ding.
Ding.